Hello Ice Empire Nerds, this is Chris, and this will continue our Game of Thrones Foreshadowing series, and we'll pick up right where we left off in the last episode, and we'll start with Season 1, Episode 5, The Wolf and the Lion. Alright, so let's jump right in. Our first scene, we see Ned and Barristan Selmy walking along after they visited Sir Hugh, being sewn up by the Silent Sisters.
Years ago, we fought as enemies at the Trident.
I'm glad we never met on the field, Sir Barristan. As is my wife. I don't think the widow's life would suit her.
So we hear a little backstory on Barristan Selmy and that Ned and him fought against each other during Robert's rebellion. He did fight for the Targaryens, and Ned says here specifically that he's glad that they never met on the field because Catelyn wouldn't be able to handle a widow's life. And of course, he's absolutely right. So in the context of the scene, it was just giving us a little backstory on Barristan Selmy, but this also just adds to the tension that's been building up in the previous 4 episodes about Ned. Something's not going right, something's going down at King's Landing, and you feel like everybody's conspiring against him already. And during that same scene, we hear Ned telling Barristan Selmy this.
My father once told me you were the best he'd ever seen. Never knew the man to be wrong about matters of combat.
And so this gives us a little bit more backstory, but we also see this in Season 6. We finally get a little bit of a payoff in Season 6 when we actually get to see him fight, and of course he does cut through a shit ton of harpies before he's actually killed. Now for a little difference in the books though, Barristan Selmy is not dead. He has not died in the book so far. He actually is running Marine for Dany in her stead because at this point in the book she's already been picked up by Drogon, and Tyrion has not yet met her in the books. And also during that scene we hear that Robert wants to joust, and of course Ned is completely against this, and he says this.
I hear the king wants to joust today.
Yes, that will never happen.
Robert tends to do what he wants.
If the king got what he wanted all the time, he'd still be fighting a damned rebellion.
So he says if the king got what he wanted, he'd still be fighting a damned rebellion. But what Robert doesn't actually know here is that he is still fighting a rebellion in a sense. Unfortunately, it's against Cersei and the Lannisters. And in our next scene, we have Robert and Ned as Robert plans to go out and joust, and of course he's too fat for his armor. And we hear Ned tell Robert this.
Out there, I still know how to point a lance.
You've no business jousting. Leave that for the young men.
Why, because I'm king? Piss on that. I want to hit somebody.
And who's going to hit your bike?
Anybody who can. And the last man in his saddle
Will be you. There's not a man in the 7 kingdoms would risk hurting you.
You're absolutely right, Ned. You're absolutely right. No man in the 7 kingdoms would touch Robert. They'd let him win the tournament, but a woman would. And during the same scene, as Robert continues to torture Lancel Lannister, we see this.
Oh, it's funny, is it?
No, Your Grace.
No. You don't like the hand's joke?
You're torturing the poor boy.
You heard the hand. The king's too fat for his armor. Go find the breastplate stretcher. Now!
Now the point being here is that Lancel continues to get picked on by Robert all the time, and Cersei insisted, kind of insinuates that she wanted to keep him close, and of course we see this.
What does it say? Have we captured Robb Stark yet? What's our next move?
Stop talking. Get back into bed.
So Lancel's getting a little payback by, smashing Cersei, but the point being here that Cersei wanted him close because she wanted to get a little, Lancel on the side. And in our next scene, we are introduced to Sir Loras Tyrell as he's about to joust the mountain.
Knight of the Flowers. Thank you, Sir Loras.
So we see Loras give a flower to Sansa, and later on we would see this.
You must see Highgarden. You'd love it there, I know you would. We have a great masquerade the night of the harvest moon. You should see the costumes. People work on them for months. And if you were to marry Loras... Oh, your place would be at Highgarden, wouldn't it?
So later on, when Marjorie comes into the picture and is going to marry Joffrey and become queen, she befriends Sansa and wants her to marry Loras to move back to Highgarden, but of course that never quite works out. And I had mentioned before that this episode was written by George R.R. Martin. You can see here the look on Ned's face when Loras is handing Sansa the flower. He looks a little bit distraught, and although it may be nothing, I think this might have been a little shout out to the books about the tourney of Harrenhal. Now, although it's not been mentioned yet in the show, this was the event where Rhaegar first crowned Lyanna the Queen of Love and Beauty when he bypassed his wife Elia Martell and handed the blue winter roses to her. And during this scene, we see Ned and Sansa and them sitting in the stands as they're watching the fight go on. And after Loras beats the Mountain because his horse was apparently in heat, we hear Littlefinger whisper to Sansa and Ned.
Loras knew his mare was in heat. Quite crafty, really.
So Loras would never do that. There's no honor in tricks.
No honor, and quite a bit of gold.
So specifically, Littlefinger says there's no honor in it, but quite a bit of gold. And in the context of the scene, he's referring to Sir Loras. But of course, in reality, he's really talking about himself because of this.
I did warn you not to trust me.
So he doesn't care about honor, he betrays Ned, and probably receives quite a bit of gold. And of course, during this scene as well, we see Loras beat the Mountain, and the Mountain gets pissed off and does this.
Stop this madness in the name of your...
So of course this was Clegane Bowl 1.0, no real payoff here, but maybe we get to see Clegane Bowl 2.0 in Season 7. It's still one of the most hyped up events in all of Game of Thrones, and A Song of Ice and Fire for that matter. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Will we see Clegane Bowl 2.0? So this kind of proves to us, the viewers, that the Hound is not what Littlefinger made him out to be. He's not some kind of monster, his brother is. And of course, with Sansa being there, being involved, being happy that the Hound saved Loras, this kind of points to the connection later on between the Hound and Sansa, and of course we see this.
All right now, little bird, you're all right.
And in our next scene, as Tyrion is being held prisoner by Catelyn on the way to the Eyrie, we hear Tyrion say this.
Probably got into my father by now. He'll be offering a handsome reward. Everyone knows a Lannister always pays his debts.
Now, of course, this is a very common saying. We hear it all the time. A Lannister always pays his debts. But the point being here is they show a close-up of Bronn here kind of looking up, taking interest, and I believe that kind of leads to this.
I name my brother, Jaime Lannister.
The Kingslayer is hundreds of miles from here.
Send a raven for him. I'm happy to wait. Anyone.
I think we can assume that no one is willing
I'll stand for the dwarf.
So this would lead to a long-lasting relationship between Tyrion and Bronn, and of course this is the first time Bronn defended Tyrion in battle, and this of course points to the fact that Bronn doesn't fight for honor, he fights for gold, as we see here.
You don't fight with honor.
No. He did.
Also during this scene, Tyrion mentions the Hill Tribes.
Would you be so good as to untie me?
And why would I do that?
Why not? Am I going to run? The Hill Tribes would kill me for my boots.
And very shortly after this, we do see the Hill Tribes actually attack Tyrion, but later on down the road, we see this.
But if you help us, Shaggas, son of Dolph, I will not give you trinkets. I will give you this.
What is this?
The Vale of Arryn. The Lords of the Vale want me dead. I believe it is time for new Lords of the Vale.
So this kind of introduces us to the idea that there's some other people out here that are very dangerous, and of course a Lannister always pays his debts, and they end up working for Tyrion. And next, after the Hill Tribes attack and Tyrion saves Catelyn, we hear Bronn say this.
You first. You need a woman. Nothing like a woman after a fight.
And of course that leads to him actually meeting a woman during this scene here.
Where did you find one so pretty at this hour?
I took her. I don't know. Ginger con, 3 tents down.
And he didn't have anything to say about it?
He said something.
What did your mother call you?
She.
And last but not least, when the Hill tribes do attack, we see this. So Tyrion saves Catelyn. It lets us know as an audience that Tyrion is not a bad guy, and he's likely not behind the attack on Bran. And of course, we had already seen him in a previous episode design a saddle for Bran to learn to ride a horse again. You can also start to see during this scene as Tyrion explains himself that Catelyn starts to doubt Tyrion's guilt, and that Catelyn probably fucked up. But we do see a parallel moment with Tyrion 4 seasons later. So Tyrion damn sure has a knack for coming up with something at the last minute to save somebody's life. So anyway, guys, that'll do it for this episode. This episode was mainly a lot of parallel scenes, not a lot of foreshadowing with actual good payoff scenes. But the point being here is this episode, The Wolf and the Lion, which was written by George R.R. Martin, by the way, was all about the build-up between the Lannisters and the Starks, and of course leading to Robert's death as well. So we as an audience continue to feel this conspiracy going on, something building up, some tension building up between Robert and Ned, and of course, as the title says, between the Lannisters and the Starks. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. As usual, thank you for all the support, especially to you guys on Patreon, and of course, a huge shout out to my Patreon executive smokescreen producers, Hoss Griffin, Volguy 10, Lala Gig, Kissa Powell, Marc Joseph, aka The Snow in Winterfell, and Marilyn Bentley. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to subscribe to get everything, and make sure you also click that notification bell beside the subscribe button so you can be notified when I drop a new video. And if you were subscribed to Smokescreen, make sure you're still subscribed. Anyway, guys, thanks so much. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.